legislation resulted in the end of the Atlantic slave trade. However, today there are more humans enslaved than any other given moment throughout history.
Prostitution and human trafficking are often confused. People have often said that prostitution is the world's oldest profession. It actually is the oldest oppression against women, because in days of old, they used to gather up young girls at ice cream parlors in the 1800s. I was just reading a book about how that happened. The same thing happens today with young girls, although they pick them up different places, at sports events, at parties. But trafficking is when a targeted victim is targeted, they're lured, and then they're forced into the sex trade. And anyone who is under 18 is trafficked, because no child can ever make that decision to have sex with men. Children don't even know what it's all about. And many young girls I have spoken to had no idea. Their first sexual encounter was with their boyfriend, who was really conditioning them and luring them into the sex trade. And often they have a lot of young girls. But the predators like to separate them from their support systems, like their families, as I said before, their support systems, their schools. But after they give them all these gifts, and after they do all these lovely things for them, there'll be a day when they say, you have to pay me back. And if the girls refuse, then it gets very brutal and very rough and very threatening. And the girls do eventually comply. And then their lives just go downhill from then on. That's why I believe we have so many murdered and missing women. That is why we have so many young girls that we don't hear from. Well, the Ride for Refuge means a lot, because there's many charities in the Ride for Refuge who are doing a lot of very good things, and it just shows what Canadians can do and what the heart of Canada is. So you have people volunteering their time, raising money for the charity of their choice. I have the Joy Smith Foundation. It was called the Joy Smith Foundation by my board. But my foundation is designed to two things: to bring awareness about human trafficking to communities all across our country and to parliamentarians, and number two, to support organizations who are taking care of and helping to rehabilitate victims of human trafficking. It's a national foundation, and so it does a lot of work in BC, Ontario, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, from coast to coast to coast. And these young girls and young boys I've grown to love and know personally, and so it pushes me on to try to stop human trafficking. And I believe education is our greatest weapon. Once people know how the predators work, that they come on as the victims' friends, they target the victims, they come on as their friends, they gain their trust, and then they try to get them to separate them from their support systems, like their families, their schools, their sports teams, their churches, whatever it takes. And then sometimes even say they fall in love with them. And I had one girl who thought her boyfriend was they're going to get a house together, everything would turn out well. But she found out that he had 10 other girls as well. And predators make between $260,000 to $280,000 per victim per year. That's exactly why they do it, tax-free. And so Canada has a conscience about protecting our very young. And so the more Canadians that know about it, the better, because it takes teachers, it takes doctors, it takes pilots. We had a case here in Winnipeg where a young girl was trafficked through the airport and got back to the airport, and we were able to help her get back to Toronto. It happens all the time. When you look at police reports, it's based on arrests. I'll give you an example. with police reports, I think the RCMP this year said there were 235 cases, or approximately that much. However, when you look at the foundation, Women's Foundation report, which was a report that was done, a $2.2 million report over 2 years. And when they reached out and asked NGOs, how many traffic victims have you serviced this year? The report came back over 20-some thousand. So, you know, we have to have a different way of reporting, and then a lot of the cases are not reported either because they don't want to be part of that. But we're beginning to open things up in a meaningful way now, and so more and more people are finding out, because I believe a kilometer from where you're sitting in Canada today, someone is being trafficked. I've seen so many of them.